Welcome. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael Flecha, and we welcome you to the recap and the post game wrap of Super Bowl 50. It was played tonight from Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. And ladies and gentlemen, on the behalf of my brothers Anthony Florio and Michael Bullock, we would like to extend congratulations to the Denver Broncos. They have won Super Bowl 50 by the final score of 24-10. This is their third Super Bowl championship in franchise history, and on top of that, Von Miller was named the most valuable player of the Super Bowl. He is the 11th defensive player in Super Bowl history to win that prestigious honor. They did it in grand style by stymieing and definitely dominating what was at the time the number one offense in all of the NFL, the Carolina Panthers, and beat them down. This was turning into quite a defensive struggle for most of the night, and we'll get right into it right now. Off in the first quarter, Denver gets the ball first and goes on a 10-play, 64-yard drive, which actually ended at 4 minutes and 17 seconds after Brandon McManus hits a 34-yard field goal, and it was 3-0 Denver. Then later in the first quarter, with 6:27 remaining in the first major stunner of the night, Cam Newton gets strip sacked and fumbled. He was strip sacked by Von Miller, and the recovery by Malik Jackson for the touchdown. And it was 10-0 Denver after one quarter. Then in the second quarter, at 11:25 remaining in the quarter, the Carolina Panthers strike gold as Jonathan Stewart basically pulls an R. Kelly. He believed he could flies over the pile for a 1-yard touchdown plunge after completing a 9-play, 73-yard drive that culminated at 4 minutes and 50 seconds and cut the lead to 10-7 with 6. And then Denver gets the ball back, marches it right back down the field, and with 6 minutes and 58 seconds remaining in the first half, Brandon McManus hits a 33-yard field goal, which made the score 13-7. That was the score line we had going into halftime. And with that said, I'm actually going to give it off to our partners in crime. Anthony Florio, you lead off. Give us your first half thoughts of Super Bowl 50.
Thank you very much, Michael Flecha. Hello, friends. Anthony Florio here with you for our Super Bowl 50 recap edition of Strictly Sports. We are so delighted to have you with us. And my thoughts on the first half is simply this. First quarter, Denver was the aggressor. There was no question about it. The defense stymied Cam Newton from the start. I got to be honest. Early on in that first quarter, I thought there was a very questionable call that went against Carolina. But then again, when it comes to this whole game tonight, I kind of thought some of the officiating was very shoddy, if I do say so myself. But that's just a personal gripe I have with this. But there was a key call that I thought, I thought they should have given to Carolina, and that is there was a completion. Cam Newton threw the ball downfield. He found Kotri. I know it looked a little bobbled and whatnot and all that, but I don't know what the referees saw, but in my opinion, he caught that ball. Carolina should have gotten that first down. That's just how I feel about it.
And then even Mike Carey, the officiating expert at CBS, said so too.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you, Anthony. That definitely looked like a very shoddy call, to say the very least, and it definitely had a lot of people, especially on social media, a lot of people on Facebook was definitely up in arms. But you can continue now.
Yeah, and that's how I feel. That was a major call that I think went against Carolina. They should have gotten the benefit of the doubt on that one. I don't know what the referees saw. I don't know. Maybe I think they were watching Super Bowl commercials on that little thing they use or something. That's just how I feel about it. I mean, what game were they watching? What play were they watching? That's just how I feel. So, but anyways, not at all surprised Denver would go on to benefit from that. I mean, then Von Miller with the strip sack of Cam Newton, Malik Jackson recovers for the touchdown, makes it 10-0, and then I'm like, well, I knew this game was not gonna be close, but man, I mean, I can't believe it ended up being the other way around. Just amazing, but yeah, I mean, so that was the first quarter. Second quarter, Stewart, that was a great athletic move right there for that touchdown, cutting it to 10-7. We're thinking, okay, game on here. This is great. And then McManus hits another field goal, makes it 13-7. That's how it is at the half. And I mean, I don't know how it all broke down combined, but I mean, I don't really have I only have the stats for the whole game. I don't have the first half numbers on my end, but I do believe Cam Newton was sacked 4 times in that first half. I think I remember hearing that. And then from there, I mean, just like I said, the Denver defense was the star of this first half, and they were also the star of the game as far as I'm concerned. And so yeah, I mean, a very exciting first half to say the very least. I mean, first quarter was all Denver. Second quarter was a little of the same. So yeah, Carolina definitely came out a little more aggressive in the second, but Denver still had the lead mainly because of that defense. So it was a tale of 2 quarters. First quarter was all Denver. Second quarter, by a smidge, I had to give to Carolina on my scorecards. So that's just how I feel about it. Overall, I thought it was a solid first half of Super Bowl 50. Definitely a defensive-oriented, be-a-man type game. That's how I feel. So yeah, that's all I can say about it. So solid first half, great defensive battle. That's just how it is. So with all that said, Michael Bullock, let's get your thoughts on the first half of Super Bowl 50.
Yes, hello friends. This is Mike Bullock here for our special Super Bowl 50 recap edition of Strictly Sports. Yeah, I mean the first half. I mean, it was a little back and forth here. I mean, the first quarter was, like you said, basically all Denver. I mean, they were the ones that came out as the aggressor. I mean, a 34-yard field goal by Brandon McManus, and then that defense. I mean, there's a reason why this defense was the best defense in the National Football League, and it showed right here on that touchdown, of course, from Malik Jackson, who recovered it in the end zone, and it was basically Von Miller who basically caused it with the strip sack, and yeah, and I mean, like I said, Denver came out as the aggressor on defense, and of course on the offensive side of the ball, and then of course in the second quarter, I mean, Carolina, I thought played better. I mean, of course, with the 1-yard touchdown run from Jonathan Stewart, and then Brandon McManus hits another field goal to make it 13-7 at the half. So yeah, I mean, Denver. I mean, Carolina was doing good totally on the. I mean, they had pretty good number of total yardage in that first half, but yet Denver had the lead at the half. So what would happen in the second half? Well, I think we better get into that now. So Fletch, let's get into that second half.
The second half of the Super Bowl, Carolina gets the ball first. They march it down the field, 10 plays, 54-yard 54 yards in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. You're thinking, okay, this is a great start. They're in field goal range. It's Graham Gano. He's going to hit one. He's going to hit one, right? 44 yards. This is a gimme. No. He stoinks it off the crossbar. No good. The first miss of the Super Bowl. And I'm sorry, but Gano is a Gano. He is a goof. He is basically he's gonna be vilified, and he's gonna be ripped to shreds because of that. The next thing you know, Denver gets the ball back, marches the ball down the field, 7 plays, 54 yards, and it's McManus again with another field goal, his third field goal of the night. This one was from 30 yards, and that made the score 16-7 for the Denver Broncos. The next offensive drive for Carolina is basically Newton trying to look for Ted Ginn, gets intercepted by TJ Ward, and then Ward actually makes a big mistake and fumbles the football, but no problems. Trevathan did recover for Denver, so they actually do get credit, and they actually do get to keep possession of the ball. Unfortunately, Denver doesn't really do anything with it. Basically, tries to go a 4-play drive. They end up punting, and so did Carolina in their drive. So then the next thing we're going in the fourth quarter. It's 16-7. Denver with the ball. Manning going back to pass, gets sacked, fumbles on the play, and it's Ely. He basically is Johnny on the spot, recovers the football, and actually picks it up and gets it at midfield. And Carolina back in business, you think. Then a 6-play, 29-yard drive for Carolina moves the ball downfield. This time, Graham Gano hits from 39 yards out, which makes the game 16-10. So you're thinking, oh boy, here we go. This might be an exciting. Maybe Carolina gets a touchdown. They take the lead, 17-16. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we'll see what happens at this point. Well, everything goes kaboom for the Carolina Panthers, because what happens next? Well, in one of the drives that they get, this is about maybe halfway through or about midway through the fourth quarter, Cam Newton gets sacked, fumbles the football. The fumble was caused by Von Miller. It was TJ Ward who recovers the fumble, and Denver is back in business. The next thing you know, 3 plays, 4 drives, 56 yards, and it is C.J. Anderson with a 2-yard rush. This was with 3:08 remaining in the game, and then on top of that, to add insult to injury, basically Peyton Manning throws a 2-point conversion pass. It was caught by Brandon Flowers. That gives you the 24-10, and that is how the game will end. It ends with the Denver Broncos capturing the Lombardi Trophy, their third in their franchise history, by the final score of 24-10. Let's go into the player stats. Peyton Manning had a very un-Peyton-like game. 13 of 23, 141 yards with 1 interception. He was sacked 5 times. His QBR rating, guys, was 9.9. Ouch. But here's the other thing. You want to talk about QBR and everything else. Cam Newton, 18 of 41, 265 yards. He had 1 interception, sacked 6 times. His QBR rating was 16.9. That's basically defensively how great the defenses were tonight in the Super Bowl. C.J. Anderson had 23 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. And in the winning effort, the high man for the receiving corps was actually Emmanuel Sanders, had 6 catches for 83 yards for Denver. And of course, like I said, defensively, Von Miller, the MVP of the Super Bowl. I mean, what is there to say? He got 6 tackles, 5 were solo, 2.5 sacks, a pass deflect, two two uh two quarterback hits, and then on top of that, forced 2 fumbles in the game as well. What is there to say about his performance in the Super Bowl? Definitely will go down in lore as a great Super Bowl performance. For Carolina's rushing, it was Jonathan Stewart, 12 carries for 29 yards. He did get the touchdown. The high man for the receiving core was actually Corey Brown, 4 catches for 80 yards, and then Tegan Jr. had 4 catches for 74 yards. And one other person who I think you can also make consideration for most valuable player in the Super Bowl, and I know he doesn't really get that much credit, but Brandon McManus, 3 field goals made. His longest one was 34 yards. He did get a PAT on top of that. He scored practically 10 points in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it was a remarkable performance, a defensive performance that was absolutely flawless to say the very least. I mean, if you want stats, here is basically the entire stats of Denver's defense. This is all combined. They had 72 total tackles, 55 were solo, 7 sacks in the Super Bowl as well. They forced 5 turnovers. Well, they forced 5 turnovers. They deflected the ball 10 times in the game. They got to the quarterback. They hit the quarterback 13 times. And of course, Malik Jackson had the scoop and score for the touchdown for Denver. They absolutely stymied and they just made life a living you know what for Cam Newton in this game. I mean, my goodness. So second half, Michael Bullock, you lead off. Bullock.
All
Okay,
right.
uh,
Sorry about that. Pull, I was just pulling some things up on the iPad. So yeah. I mean, yeah, that second half. I mean, like you said, started off with a Brandon McManus 30-yard field goal, and that was the only scoring of that third quarter. And yeah, of course, like you said, we can't forget about Graham Gano. I mean, he had a chance to hit a field goal and stoink right off the post. So yeah, that was a wasted opportunity, and once once again the defense continues to be all over. All the Denver defense continues to be all over Cam Newton, and yeah, and then of course the fourth quarter started with a Grand Gano 39-yard field goal, and then pretty much was the dagger was of course a 2-yard touchdown run by C.J. Anderson. Pretty much put the game out of reach, and yeah, so basically, I mean, the stats overall, I mean, 21 first downs for the Panthers to Denver's 11. The Panthers had 75 total plays to Denver's 56. 315 total yards for the Panthers to 194 for Denver. And then 197 yards. Well, of course, 197 yards passing for Carolina to the 104 from Denver. And 118 yards rushing for Carolina to 90 for Denver. And they had Carolina had 32 minutes and 47 seconds possession time to Denver's 27 minutes and 13 seconds. But here's the thing that really won it for Denver. Denver had less penalties, 6 penalties, while Carolina had 12 penalties. And Carolina turned the ball over 4 times, while of course, Denver Well, Carolina had 4. Yeah, and then of course, Cam Newton was 18 of 41 for 265 yards and an interception. Uh, Cam Newton also had 45 yards rushing, but Jonathan Stewart had 29 yards rushing. Whitaker had 26. Brown had 80 yards receiving. Ted Ginn with 74, and Greg Olsen was held to only 41 yards receiving. So, yeah, that was one of the keys in that. And Luke Kuechly led the team with 10 tackles and a sack. Thomas Davis had 7. Johnson had 5 and a sack as well. Coney Ely had 3 sacks and 4 tackles as well. So, and then of course when you get to the Denver side, Peyton Manning 13 of 23 for 141 yards and an interception. C.J. Anderson 23 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. Emmanuel Sanders had 6 catches for 83 yards. And then the defense. Danny Trevathan had 8 tackles. T.J. Ward had 7. And then, of course, your Super Bowl MVP, Von Miller, had 6 tackles and 2.5 sacks. Chris Harris Jr. had 5 tackles and a sack. DeMarcus Ware had 5 tackles and 2 sacks. So, but this defense was just suffocating, and it goes to show you why defense wins championships. And what Denver did tonight was just awesome with their defense. So congratulations to Denver, Super Bowl 50 champions. So Florio, your thoughts on the second half?
Well, Michael Bullock, my thoughts on the second half simply is this. Third quarter, I probably, it was probably, it was a so-so third quarter. Not much activity. We only got a 30-yard field goal from McManus, making it 16-7 in favor of Denver. And, yeah, third quarter, Carolina played very well in that third quarter. I know they had like 120 or 130 yards of total offense in that third quarter, just about, which is almost as much as they had in the first half. So I give Carolina credit for that. But scoreboard-wise, you have to give it to Denver only because they got the field goal. But even though I did say that Carolina played very well in that third quarter, but they just couldn't, cash in. Fourth quarter, Gano hits a field goal, makes it 16-10, and then we had the ultimate backbreaker, Von Miller, with another strip sack. T.J. Ward, whoever that was, recovered that fumble, and then Denver and C.J. Anderson puts it away with a knockout punch, and then Manning, 2-point conversion to Benny Fowler, putting the game away for the Denver Broncos. And if I was calling this game, it would be simply as this, calling it in the final minutes. I always ask Michael Flecha what he would say on certain calls on his end. So, Flecha, I'm going to save you a trip right here and now. You're obviously wondering, man, you're probably watching that thinking, I wonder what Anthony Florio's thinking right now. Well, you know what? Wonder no more. This is what I would have said if I had called the game, if we had called the game for real tonight. I would have simply said this. Go crazy, Uncle Ed. Yes, I do mean that. Uncle Ed is a Denver Broncos fan. So I wonder what he's doing right now wherever he is. I bet he's got to be celebrating right now, just like he did when his St. Louis Cardinals won those 2 World Series in 2006 and 2011. So first off, I would say go crazy, Uncle Ed. Your Denver Broncos are Super Bowl champions, and Peyton Manning is going out a champion, a storybook ending to a storybook Hall of Fame career. Simple as that. I don't have to do anything else. I think that said is enough. So yeah. So 24-10, the Denver Broncos win it. You guys covered all the pretty much covered every nook and cranny of the stats there. And this is mind-boggling here, guys. Think about this. The Carolina Panthers put up 315 total yards of offense and 21 first downs. And they held the ball longer than Denver did. Yes, they did commit 4 turnovers, and Cam Newton was sacked 7 times. The Denver Broncos win this Super Bowl despite, get this, they only had you know how many total yards Denver had in this win tonight? 194. That's it. And 11, count them, 11 first downs. And they still win the Super Bowl. Despite Peyton Manning getting sacked 5 times and the Broncos committing 2 turnovers. So think about this. We had 6 combined turnovers, 12 combined sacks. Michael Flecha, you being the defensive guru of our group, I bet hearing those numbers brings a Cheshire cat-like grin to your face, if I'm not mistaken. I would be shocked.
It's probably music to my ears because there's always that theory about how defenses win championships. And
Yes.
tonight, you saw defense rule all over Levi Stadium, and especially the Denver Broncos. This defense single-handedly won this Super Bowl for Denver tonight.
And let me just say it like this. Even if Carolina had won this game, I think Coney Ely would have been the MVP of this game. When you look at Coney Ely's stat line, I mean, 3 sacks and an interception, not to mention 4 total tackles. He had 3 of the 5 sacks.
You
And then Luke
can make
Kuechly.
an argument for Luke Kuechly.
Kuechly, 10 total tackles and a sack. And Charles Johnson had the other sack. But to me, if the Carolina Panthers had won this game, there's no doubt in my mind the MVP would have been Coney Ely. So I think we would have had a defensive MVP no matter what happened. So, and go figure, all these years we've had offensive players, mainly quarterbacks, win MVP. Get this, second time in 3 years, we get a defensive player as the MVP. You know, we had Malcolm Smith with the Seahawks in Super Bowl 48, that absolute dud of a game. And the Denver line, I mean, Von Miller wins the MVP, and deservedly so. 2.5 sacks with 6 total tackles. I believe he had 2 strip sack fumbles. DeMarcus Ware, 2 sacks. I mean, you easily could have made an argument for DeMarcus Ware, too. Heck, you could have made an argument for them to be co-MVPs, like we had in Super Bowl 12 with Harvey Martin and Randy White for the Dallas Cowboys.
What about Danny Trevathan? He's got 8 tackles, and he actually recovered the 2 fumbles that was strip sacked.
Yeah, I mean, we could have had a 3-way MVP. I mean, we haven't seen that since the 1981 World Series when you had Ron Say, Pedro Guerrero, and Steve Yeager split the MVP award duties for the Los Angeles Dodgers when they, unfortunately, much to my chagrin, beat my New York Yankees in that 1981 World Series as part of that, messy season that they had. But story for another day. But the point I'm trying to make is, even if they had given it to DeMarcus Ware, I would have been fine with it. But to be quite honest, Von Miller, to me, was the star of this game tonight for the Denver Broncos. 2.5 sacks for him. DeMarcus Ware had 2. Chris Harris Jr. had 1. Darian Stewart had 1. Derek Wolfe had a half. T.J. Ward, 7 total tackles for him. Interception on his end. Defense wins championships. It's simple as that. And when you have a number 1 defense in the Super Bowl against a number 1 offense, I believe that number 1 defense is now 10-2 in the Super Bowl with this win tonight. It was 9-2 going in, but with Denver winning, yeah. So go figure. 2 years ago, they get the piss beat out of them by the Seattle Seahawks in a game that was beyond unwatchable. You remember what I said the other night? I couldn't wait for that game to be over. That's how bad it was. even though I had a great time, Fletch, you, me, and my dad, we watched it over at my dad's house, that Super Bowl. And then last year I had that epic night a year ago, and this year just took it easy this time around. Just enjoyed it for myself, and you know what? I mean, it may not have been the five-star classic, chock full of Shakespearean drama at its absolute finest like we had 1 year ago with the Patriots and the Seahawks. I mean, with that ending for the ages, to me, this was a solid game to say the very least. I could say this was a solid 3 to 3.5 star game, maybe even 4, because of the defensive efforts. I mean, this was a defensive-oriented, be-a-man game, and the Denver Broncos, third Super Bowl championship, their first in 17 years. 17 years it's been since the Denver Broncos could call themselves Super Bowl champions. I mean, they could have had 2 and 3 years if it wasn't for Seattle pounding them to a pulp 2 years ago, which left a bad taste not just in their mouths but in all our mouths. But congratulations to the Denver Broncos. John Elway, the architect, a la Seth Rollins, he was the architect of this team, hands down. I mean, he did all the hard work. He put the team together. Credit to him. And there's one guy, I mean, and there's Gary Kubiak, 4th head coach in Super Bowl history to win the Super Bowl in his first year on the job, joining Don McCafferty with the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl 5, George Seifert with the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 24, and the last to do it, Chucky, John Gruden, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 37 when they holiday hammed the Oakland Raiders. So now you can add Gary Kubiak to that list, and he's also the first man to win a Super Bowl as a head coach for a team that he previously played for. Because remember, he was John Elway's backup back on those great Dan Reeves teams in the 80s and in the late 80s and early 90s. When they were winning all those AFC championships, mainly against the Cleveland Browns. But yeah, so not a bad first year on the job for Gary Kubiak. And of course the players, I mean, DeMarcus Ware, all those great years with the Dallas Cowboys, now a Super Bowl champion. He gets his ring. Peyton Manning, another first. Peyton Manning becomes the first player to win a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. Winning, the first starting quarterback, I should say, to quarterback 2 different teams to a Super Bowl championship. Of course, the Broncos here, and then, of course, the Indianapolis Colts in Super Bowl 41. So, but there's one guy on that Denver coaching staff who I couldn't be any more happier for. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. My old friend from the Buffalo Bills, defensive coordinator Wade Phillips. I could not be any happier for that guy. I mean, he coached. He had the unenviable task of having to take over for the great Marv Levy in Buffalo, and he had some good years in Buffalo, and just couldn't quite get over that hump. But he finally gets his ring. I'm so happy for him. I mean, class act, assistant coach of the year, and rightfully so. And they gave him that defense. Those were his defensive minds to mold, guys, and I thought he did a masterful job with that defense. So, Wade Phillips, coach, I'm so happy for you, man. I still miss you in Buffalo, but hey, man, you did it, man. You got it. So I couldn't be any happier for him. And I also couldn't be happier for Peyton Manning. He can deny it all he wants. Guys, come on. None of us are a Johnny-come-lately on the block here. We're not a Johnny-come-lately on the block. He's going out a champion, just like his boss John Elway did, just like Jerome Bettis did, just like Michael Strahan did, and just like Ray Lewis did. He can deny it all he wants, but deep down, I could see it in his eyes, man. I could see it in his eyes. He's going out a champion. You heard it here first. I will be the most surprised guy in the whole world if he decides to come back for another season next year. But if it was me,
what else does he have to prove?
Nothing. He's got what he's done enough for me. I mean,
if you really listen to the audio that he did during the AFC Championship game guys, it really sounded like he was actually thinking that this was it.
Right?
I think, I understand what he's gonna do, because you never ever want to do it spur of the moment or anything else,
Of
like
course.
Tony Dungy said, and we'll get into the Hall of Fame in a matter of moments. But I think you're right, Anthony. I think this is going to be the last time we're going to see Peyton Manning lace up the cleats for the Denver Broncos or for any other team in the National Football League. I think he's done.
I right? I mean,
Yeah,
I saw. I,
I'll be surprised if he does come back because, like I said, what does he have left to prove? I mean, he's got the 5 MVPs. He's got the a Super Bowl MVP when he won it with the Colts in Super Bowl 41. He's now got 2 Super Bowl championships. I mean, he's got all these records. I mean, what's left for him to prove?
and let's not also forget, when you combine the regular and postseason, an even 200 career wins as a starting quarterback,
Yeah,
surpassing new Hall of Famer Brett Favre.
I mean, there's really nothing left for him to prove.
Go up, Peyton. I know you don't want any advice. I know he's probably
go out a champion,
not even,
man. Go out a champion.
He's not even. I know he's not even acknowledging our show. I know that. I mean, it would be awesome if you watched, but Peyton, on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports, 200 wins, 5 MVP awards, all-time passing yards leader, all-time touchdown passes leader, 2 Super Bowl championships. Go out a champion.
And a Super Bowl MVP from Super Bowl 41.
That's right. But heed our advice. Well, ultimately, it's up to you.
Go out on top.
Go out on top like your boss, John Elway, did. Go out on top like the bus, Jerome Bettis did. I mean, storybook ending. He went out in his hometown.
I'll be surprised if he even thinks about coming back.
Yeah. Michael Strahan went out a champion. And look what it got him. He gets to work with Kelly Ripa every day. Lucky man. And then on top of that.
And do the Fox NFL Sunday pregame show.
Yes, of course. And then Ray Lewis. Look what happened with him. He's now a prominent figure on ESPN on the Sunday NFL Countdown and the Monday Night Football coverage. So
look at what John Elway does. He's now the vice president of football operations for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. So his third ring to go with the 2 he won as the starting quarterback for 32 and 33, with the MVP that he won in 33 as well. So we may not have gotten a 5-star Shakespearean drama-laden classic like we got last year, but the absolute worst I could give it would be 3 stars. The best maybe 3.5, maybe teetering on 4.
Oh, it was a solid game. I agree with that. I'll give it about 3 stars. I thought it was a solid game, but I know a lot of people are slamming the game, calling it one of the worst games that they've ever seen because a lot of people were yelling it was boring. I know a couple of the guys from the 2184 crew was yelling that the game was boring, that it was unwatchable, that it was. I mean, there was moments where it did lag, and I was kind of sitting there like, come on, really? This is the Super Bowl 50th anniversary. Come on, give me something. I was a little enticed when it got to 16-10 because I was thinking maybe Carolina was going to eke it out and pull the rabbit out of the hat, but they were unable to do it. But I will say this, gentlemen, now that we got the game out of the way, let's talk about one of the biggest highlights of the Super Bowl, and can we talk about how amazing that national anthem was of Lady Gaga?
Oh, it was awesome.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my word. I mean, I've heard some new stuff, and some people are saying that it's nowhere near the greatness of Whitney Houston.
I was just going to say that.
Some people are calling it maybe one of the greatest national anthems for a Super Bowl. Now you got to go way back in spectrum. because you had amazing performances like Jennifer Hudson. You had Jordan Sparks at 42. You had, I could go Mariah Carey, Super Bowl 36, Beyonce, Super Bowl 38. I mean, there's some powerhouses in there, and they think that Lady Gaga tonight surpassed them all, and now she might have possibly the greatest national anthem performance in Super Bowl history. Now that's a debate for another day, and for all you fans out there that's gonna watch this on YouTube, leave a comment at the bottom. Do you agree? Was Lady Gaga's national anthem performance the greatest national anthem performance in Super Bowl history? I think that's a good debate to have, gentlemen.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, we had the halftime show. It was Coldplay with Beyonce and Bruno Mars. I'm getting some feedback, not that Coldplay wasn't great, but some fans was definitely loving Beyonce, and actually a lot of people thought that the real star of the halftime show this year, believe it or not, I think was Bruno Mars. What say you, gentlemen?
Well, here's. I was on Facebook, and one of my friends on Facebook, which is actually my cousin, and I don't know how you guys are going to feel about it, but he said, worst halftime show ever.
Wow.
I mean, I'm like, well,
No.
well, his name is Jonathan. Cuz, I love you, man, but I 100% disagree with you. I thought this was a good halftime performance. But as the old saying goes, I mean, you can't please everybody.
Well, the majority of people that I checked on, because I had the Facebook going tonight too, and the majority of people were actually giving positive reviews for the halftime show. Some people liked it. I know there was a few that didn't really like it so much. I know some of the experts were really coming hard at they were
Coldplay.
slamming pretty hard on Coldplay, but some people thought Beyonce did a good job. I'm hearing a lot of praise from Bruno Mars. I thought
I've
that
heard some people say that that Coldplay actually lip synced.
I heard that too. I heard that rumor. Going around. And they said the only one that sounded pretty authentic was, I believe, Bruno Mars. They said Bruno sounded pretty authentic, and they said he killed it tonight. So we'll see what happens. All right, gentlemen. So we're gonna dive into something really quick, and then we're just gonna call it for the night. And it was the moment that we talked about. Well, first off, one moment that I think that needs to be addressed. How awesome was it seeing all those Hall of Fame, legendary MVPs from Super Bowls past come out tonight? I mean, give me your quick thoughts about that before we get into the Hall of Fame.
I thought it was really great seeing all the Super Bowl MVPs from the past. You basically saw. From Phil Simms to Franco Harris to Lynn Swann, of course Tom Brady. But I did hear that people were booing him. I can understand that because of the whole Deflategate nonsense. But come on, this is a time for honoring Super Bowl MVPs. And I heard Deion Branch. He even got booed as well. Other greats like Richard Dent, as a member of that legendary defense for the Chicago Bears. You also had Len Dawson and Bart Starr in there. Well, Bart Starr wasn't there because for health reasons. But what about Sweet Joe Namath being there? I mean, it's always good to see him, especially especially 2 years ago with that fur coat and what he did when he when he flipped the coin before. Without the referee saying, "Oh, which is it, heads or tails?" And I still get a laugh out of that. And then of course also seeing guys like Troy Aikman in there, Emmitt Smith. All the greats that have won this prestigious Super Bowl MVP award. It was great seeing everyone there.
Yeah, Bullock makes a great point. That was honestly that was expected. They did the same thing for 40. So, and don't be surprised if they do the same thing when we get to 60. So, that's all I can say about that. Great to see all the legends. Some couldn't be there because of health reasons. I think that was Bart Starr and Chuck Howley, but we got to see Joe Willie Namath. We got to see Len Dawson, Larry Zonka. And Derek Ferreira. Of course, he brought up American Gladiators when he saw Larry Zonka, because we all remember his outstanding body of work with him and Mike Adamle on the American Gladiators. Way back when. I knew those memories were going to conjure up. I knew they were. And then those great Steelers, Franco Harris and Lynn Swann and Terry Bradshaw. Of course, we got a couple of Fox guys in there with Terry Bradshaw and Troy Aikman. And Jim Plunkett, Bay Area guy, Stanford grad, successful with the Raiders. And then all those 49er. I'm surprised those 49er legends didn't get more of a pop. I really thought they would have. Joe Montana.
Well, the thing is, you had a mixture of Broncos fans and Panther fans that were in the stands tonight.
Yeah, very true. But considering that it was Levi's Stadium in San Francisco, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Jerry Rice. The three cornerstones of those 49er teams, although there were others, but those were the three guys who brought home the MVP awards in their respective Super Bowls. And
there was a picture on the Patriots Facebook page, Joe Montana and Tom Brady. Picture that.
Absolutely, Tom Brady's boyhood hero. But then again, Joe Montana was a boyhood hero for so many of us. That's all there is to say on that. And then Phil Simms and Richard Dent, Doug Williams, the first African American quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Great to see him and all he's done. And Otis Anderson for the Giants, and Mark Rippon, Emmitt Smith, and Larry Brown, Desmond Howard from College Game Day.
John Elway.
Johnny Elway, Terrell Davis. TD. Great
Kurt
to see
Warner.
Terrell Davis. My man Kurt Warner, Super Bowl 34. That was epic. And Ray Lewis, of course, Tom Brady, and Dexter Jackson, and Hines Ward, and Peyton Manning.
Eli Manning.
The Manning brothers. Santonio Holmes.
Drew Brees.
Aaron Rodgers. And then Joe Flacco. And Malcolm Smith. So, of course, the only one who couldn't be there, who really couldn't be there, of course, Harvey Martin, who passed away. One of the co-MVPs of Super Bowl 12 with Randy White. Randy White was there, but not Harvey Martin, the late great Harvey Martin, for those Cowboy teams. So, I think only every 10 years only from the milestone Super Bowls we'll see that kind of a ceremony. Don't be surprised if by the time we get to 60 that we'll see that ceremony again. So that was a wonderful, wonderful way to kick off what I call a pomp and circumstance of Super Bowl 50, if you will. So Fletch, I don't know if you want to give your thoughts on that, your 2 cents on that, or if you just want to.
I think you guys nailed it. You guys nailed it, and there's really nothing more for me to add to that awesomeness. But, we're just going to end it with one last thought. We'll go more deeper into this on Friday night on Strictly Sports. However, I want to get your first thoughts about this. Gentlemen, the Hall of Fame class of 2016 was announced last night during the NFL Honors, and they elected 8 new members. Eddie DeBartolo Jr., Tony Dungy, Brett Favre, no big surprise there, Kevin Green, Marvin Harrison, Orlando Pace, Kenny Stabler, and Dick Steinfeld all are going to get their busts, and more importantly, will get their molded heads, and they're all heading to Canton, Ohio. Anthony, you're one of those historian type guys. Give me your thought. Just give me your initial thoughts. We'll go into more detail, I believe, on Friday night, but just give me your thoughts. What did you, when you saw the announcement of the class, what was going through your mind?
Why isn't Kurt Warner in there? That's just a personal gripe. That's just a personal gripe for me. But that's more of a personal thing than anything else. But other than that, now I'm going to be really honest here. Good move with Eddie DeBartolo Jr. Thank you for finally recognizing his talent as the architect of those 49er teams that won all those Super Bowls in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, he was the catalyst behind it. I'm not at all surprised he went in because, Bay Area, come on, Levi's Stadium, you knew that was going to happen. Brett Favre, yeah, I mean, I'm not at all surprised by that. I mean, come on. With all these accolades, there was no way he was going to get denied. About damn time, Kenny Stabler. I mean, here's a guy who should have been in there a long time ago, personally. When you think about what he did with the Oakland Raiders, I mean, leading the Raiders to victory in Super Bowl 11 when they defeated the Minnesota Vikings. He may not have been the MVP of that game. That was Fred Biletnikoff, who we saw tonight, the great Fred Biletnikoff. But Kenny Stabler, the Snake, one of the great quarterbacks of all time. All those great years with the Raiders in the 70s, those great Raider teams and all those great games they used to have with the Pittsburgh Steelers, all those games with Shakespearean drama and all that. Happy for him. You guys said no, but I had a small rumbling about Tony Dungy. When you think about what Tony Dungy did, I mean, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, he's the one who really put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the map. For so many years, they were the Yuccaneers, and you think about what he did with them, building them into a contender, and then, of course, winning that Super Bowl with John Gruden. And then what he did with Indianapolis and Peyton Manning, I mean, that's self-explanatory there. So, and then you think about the great work he's done at NBC on those Sunday Night Football telecasts. I mean, his body of work speaks for itself. So Tony Dungy, happy about that. Kevin Green, a great sack guy. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Carolina Panthers. I mean, he had a great defensive career. Of course, for all you professional wrestling fans out there, who you can't help but forget. So his time as a wrestler, when he wrestled briefly in WCW, that angle he had with Steve McMichael and the Four Horsemen, right around the summer of '96. I mean, that was some fun times right there, especially that Great American Bash. One of two iconic moments from that pay-per-view that Flecha and myself, had a lot of fun with. I mean, not just that angle, but of course the Hall and Nash angle with Bischoff at the end. So. Story for another day. I don't know much about Stanfeld there, but I'm happy for him. Of course, you know they want to get the senior guys in there. I mean, that was an obvious. Orlando Pace, the catalyst. He was a part of those great defenses for the St. Louis Rams. That greatest show on turf team. Right around the time of the new millennium, when they went to those 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, winning 34 against Tennessee and 36, coming up short against Mr. Bullock's Patriots. So, yeah, the catalyst behind that, very happy for him. So, I don't know if I missed anybody. I think I pretty much covered everybody. So, Congratulations to the 2016 Hall of Fame class. We cannot wait to see you take your rightful place in Canton, Ohio, in 6 months' time, in the month of August, right around my birthday or so. But yeah, and once we get there, then we're going to be gearing up for yet another great NFL season, and then we can start the road to NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas, for Super Bowl 51, which will be on Fox next year. So, congrats to the Hall of Fame class. I'm still miffed that Kurt Warner didn't get in. That's just a personal preference of mine, but I have faith. Me being the holy roller that I am, I have faith that he will get his due one day. I hope it's next year, but we'll see. So with all that said, Michael Bullock, your thoughts about the Hall of Fame class?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know Tony Dungy. I mean, I said that he didn't. Yeah, but like you said, he basically got that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team going. So congratulations to him, and of course, let's not forget what he did for the Indianapolis Colts, and literally led them to a Super Bowl championship and winning Super Bowl 41. And of course, Brett Favre, we all knew he was going to get in with his body of work. I mean, of course, leading the Packers to Super Bowl championship in Super Bowl 31, and then to another Super Bowl. And Kevin Green, I mean, this was a really good defensive end, so I was good. I was fine on that. And Eddie DeBartolo Jr., I mean, good for him. I mean, I'm glad he got in there. And of course, Marvin Harrison, I mean, one of the best receivers in Colts history with the numbers he put up. Orlando Pace, with what he did for the St. Louis Rams. And, yeah, and good for Kent Stabler that he got in there. And yeah, I mean, I do have a little grief with Kurt Warner not going in there, but you know what? It is what it is, and who knows? Maybe he'll get in next year. So yeah, so that's pretty much my 2 cents on the Hall of Fame. So congratulations to the Hall of Fame class of 2016. Really looking forward to seeing them get inducted and get their gold jackets in August. And of course, that's when the preseason officially kicks off and the road to Super Bowl 51 begins. So congratulations to the class of 2016. So Fletch, your thoughts?
Yes, indeed. Congratulations to everybody. Eddie DeBartolo Jr., no big surprise. I think it was long overdue. I think we all can agree with that. It was definitely long overdue. Tony Dungy, that was actually a little surprise. I was a little surprised that he got in, even though the numbers definitely the numbers that he did proves that he is worthy enough of Hall of Fame status. It's just you never see that many head coaches get in, and I think that's the one thing that kind of had me a little in trepidation more than anything else. But I'm glad he did. I'm glad that they gave him the moment and said that yes, he is worthy of a Hall of Fame. Brett Favre, no big surprise. I think we all can agree with that. Kevin Green, if you knew him back in the day of, especially in the early 90s, guys, I mean, especially the glory years when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think we would all agree that this man deserved to be in there. Yes, he played with Carolina for a time. He was with the 49ers. He started his career as an LA Ram in the 5th round, and he just proved to be one of the more dominating defensive guys. I mean, if you remember back in the day, there were the guys you talk about like Bruce Smith, Reggie White. Kevin Green was in that conversation as one of the best defensive players, especially in the 1990s. No doubt about it. Marvin Harrison, all just was basically if Peyton Manning was the Batman, Marvin Harrison was clearly the Robin of that crew. He definitely was, without a doubt, most deserving of being there. Orlando Pace, big bruising offensive tackle from originally from the University the Ohio State Ohio State, played with the Rams. Was a part of that greatest show on turf for a number of years. Then was also a part of with the Chicago Bears at the time. And the thing with him was he was a great protector, great guy, great run. He led with a lot of blocks, played so many years. Like I said, blocking and protecting the greatest show on turf. And there was really nothing bad that he did at all. The one concern that they had was injuries. He was injury prone. However, he was a great player. Kenny Stabler, come on. Hall of Famer, deserved it. I mean, for him to be in the senior committee that he basically was not elected through his modern years is a total and complete slap in the face. But I'm glad that the senior committee did say that he was worthy enough, and they put it to the vote. And yes, he did get in. Congratulations to him. And Dick Steinfeld. Now, this guy, you got to go all the way back to his early days because he was actually originally played or was originally, you got to go back to like the 1950s. So you're talking about like big time black and white days. More than anything else, he played with the he played for the University of San Francisco, from 1952 to 1955. Then was a Detroit Lion from 1956 to 1958, and then played his remaining 5 years of pro football with the Washington Redskins, actually being drafted in the second round, 19th overall in 1951, and was actually what really made him. He was basically a good bruising linebacker, was the MVP of the 1953 NFL championship game, and was one of the offensive linemen. Played for a season with Detroit before he got traded to the Redskins, which at the time was a blockbuster deal, because it actually was part of a major trade at the time. Like I said, us young men, we don't really know much about that time of era, so we would have to go back to almost our grandfather days. We would have to talk to them about this time because I know for a fact that I don't know if Anthony's father was born around that time. I don't know, Bullock, if your dad was born around like the 1952, 1953 time. Well, it'd be definitely interesting to hear. And normally when you hear the senior committee stories, it's very intriguing because this is a side that we never get to hear because we know a lot of the modern day Hall of Famers because we've seen them play through because that was our time. But the senior members you don't get much about, and normally when it's from the senior members, these are the more interesting stories because there has to be a story or two that makes us say, this is interesting. We like this. But we'll wait and see what happens. It's going down definitely on August. Actually, it will be on August 6th. 2016 will be the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And then, of course, as everybody knows, August 7th is the Hall of Fame game. We have not heard who the two teams are right now. Now, um, there was a rumor going around that maybe who the two teams are, but nothing is etched in stone as of yet. We'll probably find that out. I'll probably say in about a couple of months when they'll announce it. But congratulations to all the Hall of Famers. All right, guys, so that's it. We're gonna put a bow on this now. So we want to say thank you so much for everything that we have done. And tomorrow night is the wrestling form, and we're doing a little slight format switch over here. So this is what's going to happen. Anthony, as always, will be the leader of the pat. We'll talk about Monday Night Raw as usual. In my Mikey's mindset, I'm going to be going through Lucha Underground. I'm going to be talking about Ring of Honor, and I can actually now confirm there's a couple of fights that just got announced today for uh, for the RWA Elite status that's going down on this Saturday night. If there's more to be announced, I'll let you know. But there are 3 fights already confirmed, and 2 championship fights have been announced. We'll get into that when we get there tomorrow night. Anthony will give us the TNA look. He's going to give us our TNA look, and he actually did agree to talk about that he'll do a SmackDown recap from last week's show. And yes, big news coming out from WWE tomorrow night. Daniel Bryan will appear on Monday Night Raw. We don't know at what capacity or what the deal, but we'll find out. Definitely, it's a must-see show, without a doubt. That's going to be at 11 p.m. Eastern, immediately after Monday Night Raw goes off the air on the Tone 25. The show is from the Key Arena still, from Seattle, Washington. So with that said, we want to say thank you so much for viewing this. I do apologize. The first video was a clunker. I hope this one was good enough for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment on the bottom. Please like all of the other videos, either from myself or Anthony, Florio, or the whole crew. And with that said, thank you. Good night. We love you guys. Hugs and hand pounds. We out. Congratulations to the Denver Broncos, Super Bowl 50 champions. Have a good night, everybody.